Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you my My Hero Academia Chapter 311 read-through. Now, I know I haven't done chapters 309 or 310. That's because I was in exam period at school and didn't have time to record and edit these videos. And last week there was a break. I could have done a double episode then, but I forgot. So we're picking it up in chapter 311. And I'm on the fence as to whether this is a good chapter or not. Because on one hand, interesting things happen. But on the other hand, it breaks one of the cardinal sins of storytelling, which is when you have the people on screen who know something talking in depth, explaining everything about something that everyone there knows, and they're just getting that dialogue out for the reader to know. However, the reader already knows the information that they're doing this with. So yeah, it's one of the most disappointing chapters in a long time because of that. But there's also some interesting aspects that I'm excited to talk about. So we open in a brawl between some prisoners and Endeavor, with the main villain using this, it's described as a nail gun support item, to fire at Endeavor, and it seems to be being fed out of a hole in his arm. So I'm guessing his quirk is he can shoot nails or projectiles out of his elbow, and he's using that tube to feed it into this gun. Idiot. Let's get out of here. Take this. A nail gun support item. He's extremely modified. That damn detonator. Ignited arrow. You've got to be kidding me. This is all your fault. And that's why I'm here. So we get to see a new super move. Well, not so much super move, but a new attack from Endeavor, where he seems to create this lance of fire that he's able to throw at his enemies. It reminds me of in the CW Flash show, where he runs fast enough to actually grab one of his discharged lightning bolts and throw it at his opponent. That's basically what it seems here. And it doesn't seem to do much to actually burn the enemy, but it does seem very effective in knocking him down. It then moves outside, and we see that they were trying to rob a mall, with Endeavor handing the 3 criminals over to the police, as Best Jeanist and Hawks wait by the car. Another one of Jailbreaker's conspirators. As always, there was nothing here that could trace back to him. Yeah. Suddenly, someone throws something at Endeavor's feet, and he turns to see a protest. Or more, people walking standing in the street, holding signs saying, "We don't need heroes. Get out of here, you bringer of misfortune. If you didn't let Shigaraki and his gang get away, Jailbreakers would never have come. Endeavor-san, let's go. It was all over the news. Shigaraki is after someone other than you guys. Endeavor is still keeping secrets from us." They then start throwing bottles and other pieces of trash at Endeavor, I guess it's fitting considering they all see Endeavour as a piece of trash. But they say, "You coward, the families of Darby's burn victims were on TV. Did you see them? Get away from us. You bring nothing but despair. You fake. Get out of our faces." And I love how the heroes, they don't do anything to stop this. Like, sure, the method of these people are taking is wrong, but they understand why they're doing it. And Bestinus just uses some fibers to block the majority of the trash from hitting them as Hawks leads Endeavour into the car. And I find this incredibly funny, but Endeavour has to sit in the back. We cut inside the car as they're driving down a freeway, and Hawks is on the phone to Edgeshot. "Roger, Edgeshot-san. Please continue with the investigation of the Liberation Front. Still no progress? Should we stay a few kilometers away from All Might and the others? If the mass media catches on that we're working together, Midoriya-kun could be under fire as well." "Yeah, let's work separately a little bit longer. Deku shouldn't be burdened with any more than he already is, even though it might be his idea. We're still using Deku as bait to lure out the League. But they're pretty well hidden. Jailbreaker. I figure that the supervillain who broke out of Tartarus would be following some kind of order, hiding under the social upheaval while capturing One for All must be their best bet. Not to mention, we heroes are currently disorganized. If I was all for one, I would go on the offensive." Just like Deku said, taking over Shigaraki is All for One's top priority. After being defeated by All Might, his body could only be sustained with equipment. Once he puts his finishing touches on Shigaraki, he's most likely planning on taking over his body. According to the imprisoned Shigaraki, Shigaraki was forced into action while his body was incomplete. How they are moving All for One is hard to say, but it's clear that certain conditions haven't been met to complete Shigaraki's body. But once that's done, the next goal will be possible, to seize One for All. That's what's bugging me. Which part? Midoriya-kun and All Might told me that Shigaraki wouldn't be able to accept the power of it if his body doesn't get stronger. It makes sense that a strong body is necessary, but why? Does he need all of Shigaraki's hatred? It's the strength of the feeling, right? One for All carries the spirit of 8 people. I suppose he requires a will that exceeds them. But All for One has been chasing his brother for centuries. For him to have a successor, Shigaraki must be carrying an extraordinary amount of hatred. But you believe it is not enough? Maybe not. I'm just talking about my impression though. After all, that guy, isn't he always laughing? A lack of heart. Anyhow, we can't trace their movements, and even the supervillains we've caught don't have any intel. If they want to avoid a fight, we should take advantage of that. It might be time to dedicate all manpower to the investigation, even if it means reducing the amount of staff working on public safety. Before this conversation can go on, they're interrupted by a beep which startles Bestinus. Now, reading back over this, it's not as bad as I initially read it as, with them just relaying again what Shigaraki and All for One's plans are, which we've seen been relayed a couple times over now, because they're trying to figure out bits of it that don't make sense, but it's still an unnecessary scene in the length that it is. Anyway, we move from that car full of heroes to another hero's car as All Might is tracking Midoriya's location on the in-car GPS. He thinks, it's still moving around. Young man, you must not be getting much sleep. He thinks back to when he was coming out of hospital after his battle with All For One, where Night Eye said something similar. Please, for once, get some rest in a nice fluffy bed. I don't have a Night Eye voice, and I doubt I'd need one very much, so Night Eye. But he's interrupted by a similar beep. What? Midoriya's GPS signal vanished. Damn it. We then see outside the car as something bounces into frame and moves past All Might's driver's window. And I've heard a couple people already mistakenly say that this made it inside the car because it's on the right side of All Might's face. But that was Americans saying that, and since All Might is Japanese and they have right side drivers, it's bouncing past the driver's window. But it is a grenade which blows up right next to the car, leaving it on just the explosion. It moves over to the source as to why Midoriya's comms went down, because his phone was shot out of his hand with enough force for it to actually embed itself in the side of the building across the alleyway. And we see, and Midoriya hears, that the thing that shot his phone out of his hand was actually got a communicator strapped to it. It says, "Young boy in green, we'll take you with us. Follow my orders and I'll leave your limbs attached." They're coming. This villain doesn't appear coincidentally. He's targeting me. They're here. One that connects with the jailbreakers. An assassin sent by All For One. Now, he does incorrectly call it, well, I don't want to say that just yet, but he does call this villain with a feminine body a he, so I'm guessing he hasn't gotten a look at this person. But for the sake of this, I'm going to say she. It's the female escapee that let Overhaul out of his cell. And, well, she is very confusing. Well, we do actually get a colored image. I'm not sure if this is official Horikoshi art or just someone on the site colored this in, but she seems to have red and white hair. It's a darker red than most Todorokis, and there are only white streaks spread throughout it. Plus, she seems to have heterochromia as well. So, could she also have a dual quirk? We've only seen one dual quirk so far that I remember, and that's Todoroki, and he's got heterochromia. If this is official coloring, then she may have a dual quirk too, because when she was opening Overhaul's cell, we see in this panel that she's got these particles, like magnetic or something, to help her turn the wheel and open the door. Yet, in this scene, she's got a fucking sniper rifle coming out of her elbow. It can't be very comfortable either. Like, she's got to have her arm tucked in very tight, and it seems that to fire properly she has to maneuver it with her other hand for support. It's obvious that she shot the communicator from this gun into Midoriya's phone, and that it's a very high caliber gun for it to have that much force. But there's also the fact that this gun may not actually be her quirk. Considering the person that she's with, that being overhaul himself, she may have been overhauled with the gun. I was a little confused by who she was with when I first saw this panel, because I just saw the black and white and I thought that, well, it must be whoever was already on the roof. She just took them out to get the vantage point. Then I noticed that they didn't have arms, and when I scrolled down to see that there was the colored page and I saw the orange jumpsuit, I realized that no, she's still with Overhaul. And since he can use his quirk with his feet, assuming that Ultra Analysis book is correct, though that's in the same line of books that had Shiozaki's hero name as Maria, not Vine, I'm not sure which to believe. Yeah, in that book they said that once Overhaul got taken to Tartarus, the doctors managed to rework his quirk factor so he could use it with his feet, since he no longer had hands. Until we get any confirmation, that's just... I'm classing that as semi-canon. Well, no, I'm going to say it's Schrodinger's canon. Like, it's both canon and not canon. Until you find out otherwise. It's very interesting that of the people that Midoriya meets, the first Tartarus escapee that we see him meet is Muscular. He was top right of that panel a couple chapters back. The next one he's running into is Overhaul, who was top left of that panel. And who's another escapee that we've seen and was in that panel? Stain. Now, whether I personally believe that Midoriya's met Stain since he escaped, but if he hasn't, then that means that after this confrontation with Overhaul, which I actually reckon these two are going to be on his side, for reasons I'll explain after this, he's going to meet up with Stain. And then, later, even more down the line, he's going to team up with La Brava and Gentle. I honestly reckon these two aren't actually sent by All For One. Like, I reckon they may be working with All For One, saying that they're working with him, but actually they want nothing to do with him, mainly because of everything that happened between Shigaraki and Overhaul. How Shigaraki was never planning to work with Overhaul, just wanted revenge for Magne being taken out, and also wanted to use Overhaul's resources to fund his group. And then, eventually, they took the bullets from him and cut off both of his arms. And this woman, she, in a prison escape, went back and helped a prisoner out of their cell when A, she had no idea who was in that cell, if that cell was even being used, and now she's still with that person. Like, there's no obvious reason as to why these two should be together, unless, what if they have prior history? That could explain why they're together. And who's the only female that we know to have prior history with Overhaul and hasn't been in the picture, but Eri's mum, who we know was the daughter of the Shihazake leader. And she dropped Eri off because of what happened to her husband. So what if she never really left the family business and got caught, and she knew she was going to be caught, and that's why she dropped Eri off? Well, that and what happened to her husband, but... So, those are my theories. Look, either this is going exactly at face value, in which Deku is going to attempt to A, talk to these people, figure out why they're doing it, and then try and use them to get closer to All For One. B, these two are betraying All For One and wanting to work with Midoriya against Shigaraki and all that. And C, which is not mutually exclusive to A or B, they could have prior history with this woman being Eri's mom. Because we know Eri's quirk is nothing like either of her parents, so... Also, she's got a very interesting design. Overall, he hasn't changed out of his prison uniform. He's still wearing the orange jumpsuit. Unless that's just an ordinary orange shirt. I don't know. But she's got this black sleeveless dress, this armored belt of sorts, and some armored boots. But these boots are weird because either her leg is incredibly thick down at the calf level, like that thick at the calf level, because that's how wide proportionately the boots look, or she's only got one boot for both her feet, and she's just You know what? I think that may be it, because you can only see one leg in this picture. So maybe she's got a support item. Sort of like if you watch Ruby Elm, how she can root herself into the ground using her aura. What if she's got a sort of locking mechanism on her feet that she can zip them together to get extra support for when she's using the sniper in her elbow for like high powered shots. I think I'm gonna have to do a video on just who this woman could be. It's been a while since a chapter has sparked a video idea for me, and I like this guy. But yes, as I said in my reaction, the bit I didn't like was the interaction between the three top heroes in the car. I feel it wasn't unnecessary to go through all of that again, but without it, this chapter would have been incredibly short, because they wanted to leave it on a cliffhanger, and this, as far as I know, having not read the next chapter because it's not available, this is the best cliff point in this interaction that they could have left it off. I'm still looking at this picture of the woman, and I had another idea, so I'm going to cut this recording here before I start talking about her even more, and I'll catch you in the next one, which might be me discussing this woman more.